Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I've got a one card PSA reveal for you. You can already see the card up here. We have a Kimi Antonelli Futuro PSA 10. Set this off, a few months ago at the regular level, $80 a card, and that is because his market was starting to heat up. This was sent off before he rattled off those 5 wins in a row. Obviously, his market has kind of steadied off, if not dropped down, 10-15% since. But yeah, very happy with this. This card was actually bought for $142.50 from what looks to be a massive consignment seller, but has a very strong gem rate. So I was happy with buying this card to grade. And looking at the breakdown, that's not right. It's this one right here. We've got that card, and my purchase price was, right around $150 once you accommodate for, the shipping on that card. Came close to that value. The card I valued at $1,100, so I know this isn't pre-pulled up. I like to have everything pre-pulled up. If we go to Card Ladder and we go over to Sales, you can see I was looking at the helmet not too long ago, but if we go to Antonelli Futuro, these cards raw are now selling for around $350. You can see some of them are going high into the 4s. But if we look at his PSA graded cards, the 10s, you see 1100, 1050, 1275, 1225. So I think a good average is 1100. And that I'd expect to net 935 off eBay, and that's taking 85% of the card value. And the reason I take 85% is because I am losing 13% to eBay fees, and then I also promote every listing for 2%. I've just found that unpromoted listings, even of the top names, the hot cards, don't get the views and tractions that they do if they're promoted. So I'd rather take an extra 2%. Obviously in my calculations to be conservative, but then when actually listing my cards, so if they do sell and I get hit with that 2% extra fee, well, at least I'm moving the cards quicker. But we did have a PSA offer, and I did accept that PSA offer of $871.49. You might be asking, Ethan, why did you accept that? Usually, if you're going to be selling a card right away, if you see that net value is higher than the PSA offer, especially by, $60 in this case, $63.50 if we want to get more technical, usually you don't accept that unless it's, maybe only $5, $10 off. Well, the reason that I accepted something with, a decent difference, $60 is a pretty significant amount when I'm talking about cards. I can buy a lot of really good cards to grade for $60. But this Antonelli market, in my opinion, is almost about as high as it could realistically get this time of year, right? So he hasn't had a great past couple of races. The Mercedes has been running into reliability issues. George Russell's catching up with him in the championship. Lewis Hamilton's catching up with him in the championship. His pretty massive lead he built after only a few rounds has shrunk down quite marginally. And realistically, 4 races from now, he could be in second or third in the driver's standings. Do I think that's going to happen? No. He's had the best pace of every driver. But, weird things can happen in sports, especially in auto sports, where sure, there still are injuries, but the concern isn't necessarily injuries like you have with traditional athletes, but it's going to be your car reliability, which is something that, I think a lot of people tend to overlook. So realistically, for the next 2 months, I think this card couldn't go up in value anymore. There's only a downside to it if he drops out of first place in the Drivers' Championship. I don't see this card going up in value unless he rattles off a bunch of wins. Even if, come November, December, he is in first place, if it's not like he's won 10 plus races this season, I still think the card would be around this price. So I'm trying to eliminate the downside of something happening where, the current market of Antonelli drops down 30-40%. and then by the time I get this card back and find a buyer, I've now sold it for $750 on eBay, and I'm going to be netting less than $700, in which case I'm missing out on, $150, $200. So that's why I accepted the offer. Can't get too greedy. That's one of the main things I've learned, over the last 5 years of doing this pretty consistently. Been much more consistent the past year or so. But you can see I'm not going to ever complain about an ROI of 217% on a grading order, especially for just a singular card. Like, my profit is close to $600 on one card, which is pretty insane. I've had a few other cards that are a little higher than that, but for the most part, I don't care about profit per card, because profit per card to me is a stupid metric. Maybe if you're looking at profit per set or profit per card, but over, grading 20 of the same card, the reason that profit per card is a dumb metric in my opinion is that, one, for a sample size and statistics, is the worst you can get. I'd argue it's worse than a sample size of 0. If you have a sample size of 0, you have nothing to base anything off of. If you have a sample size of 1, that's as misleading as it can get. So for my orders, I like to judge off of profit by order, which typically I'm sending off bulk orders of 20 cards. I get that you're supposed to have, in statistics, you're supposed to have at least a sample size of 30 for it to, start to be meaningful. But to me, a sample size of 20 for sports cards has been pretty accurate. But yeah, profit per card, not a good metric. But in this case, since it's a one-card order, the whole success of the order falls on this one card. So getting a 10 made this order successful. This card does have a really good gem rate. So if we want to go to gemrate.com, I'll go ahead and show you guys why this is a card that I was targeting. And, I'm not anymore. I'm not going to buy this card at $350, $400 raw. But if we go to Futuro Antonelli on here, we'll go ahead and click into it. You'll see the gem rate says 69.4% on PSA. So almost a 70% gem rate is really good. That means 7 out of the 10 cards are getting a PSA 10. And you have to assume that some of them that aren't, people are sending off knowing they're not perfect. So if I've got a perfect card, the gem rate on that card should be higher than 70% if I think it's perfect. But I always just roll with 70%. That's great. Anything over 60% is very good. 6 out of 10 times getting a gem, more likely than not, you're going to get the PSA 10 if the card looks good. So that is going to be it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below in the comment section, as well as any other video ideas you guys may have. eBay store is linked in the description, as well as, well, I don't know. I'll go back and look to see if it would be a good video to attach of, me sending this card off for grading. You guys actually probably don't care about that since it's only one card and I didn't probably have much analysis on it. So scrap that. That's not going to be included in the description. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. As always, thanks for watching. 2K for life. Peace.